Hark the herald angels sing. They're advertising wondrous things. It seems Christmas season comes earlier and earlier every year, and with the season comes the deluge of mawkish adverts meant to tug at the heartstrings so that Brits part with their cash. The trend was started by John Lewis in 2007 and has since been copied by many other outlets such as M&S and Sainsbury's, and its progenitors are back with their 2025 offering, and it's as you'd expect. Let's take a quick look.
That one too, thank you. No, did I grab enough glasses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Take my hand, come away, come out of the blues. Boy, everything you give, so will I give something to do. Down where love lives.
Pretty standard fare there. An advert involving a heartwarming moment where a family bonds over gift giving. Hardly a radical departure from what we usually expect from a John Lewis commercial. That is, however, until the right-wing rogues gallery of opinion havers online made it part of their culture war du jour. I bet you at home are wondering how on earth they might have weaponized something so innocuous. Well, when there's a will, there's a way, and the engagement bait will not post itself. Here's Reform UK member and husband of Swallow Braverman, Rael Braverman's take. Just watched the new John Lewis advert and it brought tears to my eyes. No wokery, no DEI messaging, no unusual family setups. Just a father, a son, and the simple, timeless love of family. A beautiful portrait of ordinary British life. Well done, John Lewis. And here's a slot posting account whose take got over 30,000 likes on Twitter with very similar sentiments. The 2025 John Lewis Christmas advert promotes family values, features a normal white British family, and shows a dad giving up the party life for his baby boy. The left will be in meltdown, but this is the best Christmas ad in years. Woke is dead. We are so back. So, I have some questions. Firstly, I thought men showing their emotions was woke. You've really been owning the left here by supporting positive representations of masculinity. And is their only definition of wokery and DEI just the existence of non-white people? The bit that really exposes their true opinions here is Braverman's invocation of the idea of unusual family setups. By that, presumably he's referring to non-straight relationships. It turns out it really is easy to trigger right-wing snowflakes just by existing as a minority, apparently. And to cap off the delusional takes, here's a clip from Reform UK councillor Darren Grimes' YouTube project called Reasoned, which is breathtaking in its lack of self-awareness.
So the first thing that you notice is that they haven't decided to fill it with people who have to tick a box, and you haven't got a trans person, a black person, someone from every different ethnicity to fill a box. It's just a normal British family. Doesn't matter the colour of their skin.
So, hang on a minute. If it doesn't matter the colour of their skin, why was it the first thing that you noticed? Spoiler alert, most normal people aren't scrutinising the ethnicity of people in the adverts they're watching. Getting real Sarah Poachin vibes from this one. Also very funny for them to imply this is somehow a representation of the 2025 defeat of wokeism, when both the 2022 and 2024 John Lewis adverts also featured white families as well. The reality, of course, is that whilst right-wingers are desperate to find woke boogeymen atop the marketing boards at companies that represent any amount of diversity in their advertising material, marketing boards are not ideologically motivated. They're motivated by one single metric, which is what generates the most revenue for shareholders, and they pay good money for it too. What John Lewis and all their compatriots are engaging in is what is called earned media, when brand recognition is increased through third-party engagement. In an era where very few of us watch TV, at least not live when catch-up is easily available, it's much harder than it ever has been to cut through to the public with an ad blocker in the way. The way companies have sidestepped this in recent years is to rely on social media virality to increase brand awareness, either by having long-running trends like the Christmas adverts that everyone rushes to comment their 2 cents on, or via outrage marketing, like Nike's Colin Kaepernick advert that led to very strange people burning their trainers on the internet. All publicity is good publicity, and it doesn't matter whether your opinions on John Lewis or Nike or Bud Light or whatever is positive or negative. The fact you're talking about it makes it a trending topic and puts the brand name in people's heads. Because at the end of the day, this is a commercial. They want you to buy their kitchenware. And us on the left, we have never been naive enough to take any corporation at their word. For example, whenever the right complain about forced diversity, when they see LGBTQ plus representation from corporations, they believe that those corporations are being totally sincere. Yet the left dislike this because we know they're not. We call it rainbow capitalism for a reason. Dahlia, have you had any strong opinions about an advert recently?
No, because I have real problems. Like when it's like that thing of like, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's like when all you have is a Twitter account, everything looks like an opportunity for an insane hot take that you're going to like submit us all to. It exactly puts us into this like situation that you outline, Helena, which is like on the left, like we have been making so much effort to kind of talk about how like representation is not enough and like to fight against this kind of liberal idea that the anti-racism can be boiled down to how many brown faces or black faces there are around a boardroom or in elite spaces. And, you know, we want to talk about how the working class globally who do the most dangerous, exploited work are disproportionately people of color, and how race is a system of valuing human life. And, you know, the most, and it's a way of, and that intersects with the creation of economic value. And then you end up having to be in this conversation where it's like, so even now we have to be in a situation where we're having to talk about why it's okay to have Black people on TV. And it's like, I don't want to waste my time having to talk about this. I want to talk about how do we organize transnationally and how do we make sure that the people who generate most of the wealth in this world have a dignified life. And yet now we're having to talk about how many, you know, Black and brown faces or queer families are represented on telly. It's the right that constantly draws us into these conversations. But at the end of the day, we kind of do have to discuss them, because it is really scary to think that there are political influencers who are gaining more and more influence, and who are getting closer and closer to state power, who literally see the presence of people of color and queer people in public life as something to be eliminated. It kind of goes back. I mean, obviously it's a much lower stakes like iteration or manifestation of this problem, but it does go back to what I was saying earlier about how there's this overall drive to say, well, if we live in a world and we live under an economy in which migrant labor is essential for the most developed countries to be able to maintain themselves and reproduce themselves, then the way that we're going to compromise with that is we're going to have migrants and all of the value that they produce, and their children of migrants and all of the value that they produce, whilst eliminating them from public life and giving them no civil rights. It's like, if that is a spectrum, ICE raids are on one end, and this desire to eliminate the humanity of Black and brown people and queer people in the public's eye is kind of the other end of it. But it's sort of like a long continuum where the kind of these cultural processes intersect with and lay the groundwork and are co-produce the more extreme forms of state, material, and economic violence. And of course, I mean, it goes without saying that in this country, you know, 31% of children in this country are in poverty. 350,000 people in this country are homeless. The waiting list to see an NHS consultant in England is at a record high. And all the right have to offer us, other than making a lot of those problems worse through privatization of housing, healthcare, and also through welfare cuts, alongside making that worse, all they have to offer us is, you know, the game of count the number of white people are in the John Lewis advert. It should be an open goal for us, really, because that is such an insulting offer. if you can't pay your bills, what do you care that the family in the John Lewis advert are all white? I mean, you couldn't, if you had showed me that advert and you had said this advert was going to become the basis of a culture war talking point, I don't even think, with all of my experience of being in the eyes of the culture war and analyzing it in public life and all of this, I don't even think that you could have left me there for days and I wouldn't have predicted how it would have actually been made into the terrain of a culture war. It's absurd. It's a symptom of deep, of deep alienation and deep boredom on the part of whoever is engaging in this kind of these banal conversations at a moment when we have so many serious things to be thinking about right now.
I just want to say something. Ryle Braverman, I've been pointed out, quit Reform UK a couple of months back. He was a member for about 6 months. I want to clear that up. I just think that just people who are putting so much stock in the fabric of society, in what they're seeing in adverts, I'm like how much does your commodity fetishism have to be so that you're generating your personal idea of cultural worth out of what corporations are trying to sell to you? Like when there was a big hoo-ha in the United States when Cracker Barrel changed their logo. I'm like, yeah, they're trying to sell you things. They're trying to make you part with your cash. You're the advert. If you're out here getting mad online about an advert or talking about an advert because it's sufficiently white enough for you, all you're doing is helping this company sell products and move merchandise. And they really do take cultural value from this. They really will say things like, well, I'm far more likely to shop at John Lewis now that they've done what I've seen in this advert. And despite the fact that I do not think that there was anybody involved in the entire creation of this process for this advert who went, let's make sure we have a white family in the advert so that all the racists are happy, so that all of the right-wingers are happy. That's just not happened. And they are so bought into it that they've just imagined that the left are all just desperate for representation politics and aren't just looking at diversity in adverts going, oh, that's nice, isn't it? I'm glad we've got that, rather than being mad that it's not there. When, as you rightly pointed out, there are real material problems, first of all, facing everybody, but also facing people from minority backgrounds as well. And there's those material problems that really matter. Representation is one thing, and it's better to have it than not. But at the end of the day, that will come from the people themselves. It will come from state policy. It won't come at the behest of corporations and large companies.